Are you in the mood for some festive crafting? How about making some stars? They're great for all year round decoration. Now, if you love all things flower arranging, crafting, with a bit of charity shop shopping thrown in too, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. All you need to do is tap the button marked subscribe, and that means next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your tablet or your computer, one of my videos will be waiting for you. In this video, I'll show you how to make 4 paper stars. One of those stars involves drinking straws, others using the pages of old books, and also origami papers. Let's start with this project using some origami papers. My friend Lisa gifted these to me at Christmas time. We've got a £2 limit when we can only shop from the charity shop, so I think she did really well. These papers are 15 by 15 centimetres. What you need to do is put the colourful face down on your work table and then fold in half to create a rectangle shape. With the fold next to you and the open sides of your origami papers facing away with you, take the bottom right hand corner and make a triangle shape to create a diagonal line going across the right hand side of your papers. And then you do the same thing in the opposite direction, taking the top right hand side back over to create another diagonal line. And when you open that triangle back out, you'll see that the right hand side of your papers has got a pair of diagonal lines which meet in the centre, and it's that centre point you need to mark in your mind, because you're going to take the bottom left hand corner up to meet that centre point, and you end up with a rather strange shape piece of paper. So you might want to take a screenshot of this section just so you can be sure that you've done the right thing. You see what I mean about it being a strange shape? And can you see the corner I'm holding down with my thumb? You're going to take that corner piece and that long line at the bottom, fold it back so it matches up with the line on the left hand side. It's almost now that you've got an ice cream cone shape, again with an odd bit off to the side. The next step is to take the long folded line and fold that back up to meet the flap that you've just created. And again, you might want to pause the video at this point or take a screenshot so you can see that very strange shape that you've got again. Now you're going to fold the papers back on themselves so you've got the folded flaps on the top, smooth at the back, and then the multiple folds at the front. So you're going to cut the papers now. So you want to choose a point quite high up on the right hand side and then have it slanting down on the left hand side to create another quite slimline looking triangle shape. It's almost like you're cutting off more paper than you're keeping. But be brave, you're doing the right thing. You'll need a reasonably sharp pair of scissors to do this job to make sure you get a nice clean cut. And here is when the magic happens. You unfold the paper and you've got yourself a 5-pointed star. And then you have to fashion it into more of a 3D shape. So all the folds which are on the long side of the arms of the star that end in the point are going to be sticking up, and the short folds are going to be folded down. So you need to work your way around the star shape, giving nice crisp folds. I found this easiest to do by lying the folds on each other as I went round, but when you get to the last arm of your star, you need to open it out and just give yourself enough paper to work with. You want to make sure you've got a nice crisp point at the top. And there you have the finished star. I think it needs just a bit more work just to give those folds a more pronounced shape to them. These would look great as table decorations, or you could string them up to make a garland. you've got any questions about this first star, let me know in the comments. And if you complete this project, why not show off your handiwork in my free Facebook group, Flower Start World. For the next star, I'm going to use the pages out of an old book. You'll also need a sharp pair of scissors and a glue stick. Now this star is made up of 14 pieces, and each piece I think was about 8 centimetres by 8 centimetres. So I'm going to rip my pages out of the book, which is a rectangular page, and I'm going to cut off the rough edges and then create a square, one large square, and then I'm going to fold that in half and in half again to create 4 smaller squares. I'm using an old AA road map for this project. It was something I've picked up on my thrifting travels, and if you love visiting charity shops, car boot fairs, don't forget to check out my playlist and you can thrift along with me. So this is what I mean about creating a square shape out of a rectangular page. I've folded it diagonally, and then with a flap left over at the bottom, I cut across, and that gives me a perfect square shape. I'm then going to fold that in half to create a rectangle and giving it a nice firm crease, and then in half again to create a square, and then I'll open it out, cut along the folds, and end up with 4 equally sized pieces of paper. So in total I used 4 sheets of paper, each one making 4 smaller squares, totaling 16, but I only actually used 14 pieces, and I found that gave me a much tighter circle in the centre. So what you need to do now is to fold your papers. I am folding point to point diagonally to create a triangle shape, opening that out and creating that diagonal fold in the opposite direction and opening out the paper again. And in turn, I'm going to take each of the points of my square piece of paper into the centre. You need to try really hard to be accurate with your folding so you get a nice crisp line and you end up with perfect square shape, which will give you perfect triangular shapes later on in the process. Making sure you've got nice points at the corners and crisp folds to the sides. So you can see here I started off with a larger sheet of square paper, and by folding in the edges I've ended up with a slightly smaller square. I'm then going to adjust the orientation of the paper so I've got a line running down the centre of the square. Rather than having it square onto me, it's more of a diamond shape. I'm taking the right hand side and folding that down that centre line, and then doing the same with the left hand side, and I end up with something that is now kite shaped. The next thing you need to do is to flip your paper over so it's got the smooth side upwards, and then that bottom section of your kite shape gets lifted up. Nice crisp fold, and then you're going to fold to make a smaller triangle along that centre line. This gets a little bit fiddly, and if you decide to use smaller papers, you're going to have to be really precise. So I personally wouldn't go less than 8 centimetres. So you just need to make 13 more of those. So as a quick recap, I'll remind you exactly what I did. Start off with a square piece of paper, fold it in half diagonally, fold the points into the centre, take the right hand side and fold that down to create the kite shape, repeat with the left, flip it over and then fold up that bottom triangle, and then fold the whole thing in half. And how do you put it together? Well, you need to open out the triangle and put a little bit of glue on the side. I'm getting a bit of a sticky mess here. So you're not going to glue the triangle together, but you're going to hold it in a sort of pincer movement, and the 2 wings of your triangle are going to slide inside the last upturned bit of your shape. I think this will probably make more sense when you're actually working on it. Let's make another segment together and then I'll glue in again so you can see what I'm doing. So a square piece of paper, folded in half diagonally in both directions. Fold the points to the centre. I like to do mine in opposites just to make sure I'm getting a really crisp shape to it. Concentrating on those corners and getting a nice crisp fold on the long edges. Then reorientate your paper so it looks like a diamond shape in front of you. Fold the right hand side in, so that's making one half of your kite shape. Fold the left hand side into that centre line. So all your folds are on this surface. We're going to flip the kite shape over and then fold back that bottom triangle and then fold along the centre line. And it's that triangle at the back which gives you the little slots for attaching each of your segments together. So a tiny bit of glue. Again, I'm getting in a bit of a mess here. Make sure you don't pinch too hard because you don't want the triangle itself to be glued together. You're gluing it inside the base of the triangle you created before. So there are 3 pieces locked together. So you just continue all the way around. Let me show you how you fix it together. Do exactly the same thing. You can see my triangle is falling apart a bit because I didn't glue the rest of it. And then push it together and it does create a nice, neat, round circle in the centre. Once you get in the rhythm, you'll be well away. Now this part of the video you might need to watch a couple of times. I'm going to be making a star out of 5 straws. I've cut mine down to length. I think they were about 12 centimetres long. To be honest, I found this the hardest star to make. There's a little bit of fiddling that goes on at the end, which I can't really explain properly. But I have filmed it a couple of times, so again, you might want to watch back a couple of times and even take some screenshots. So I am cutting my straws to length. You don't want to be too small and you don't want to go too big. It can become unwieldy, and if it's too small, it will just too difficult to manipulate your shape in the end. So when you make the star, it's not going to have perfect points to it, but you can help with the pointed look by trimming your stars to shape. So I'm just taking off the square end to create a points that go inwards at both ends. That's a square straw with the shaped one underneath. So cut off both ends of the straw and repeat for all 5 straws. And then you need to thread them onto a piece of wire. I quite like using wire because you can manipulate it and twist tie it on. You could do the same thing with string, but it might just be a little bit unwieldy. So it's almost like making a necklace here. I'm not making the star shape at the moment. I'm making a necklace shape which will then turn into a pentagon, and then with a few twists and a bit of magic will turn into a 5-pointed star. Once you've done your threading, cut off your excess wire. I'm leaving a little bit so I can hang up my star at the end, and then twist tie. Don't tie it too firmly because you will need to manipulate your straws a little bit, and once you've finished you can always tie it tighter at the end. So just doing a few twists, you'll see that I end up with a pentagon shape, and by the magic of television it's now a star. So this is what will take you a few goes. So you start off with your 5-pointed shape, which looks a little bit like a house. Now you can see I'm getting in a bit of a pickle here because this is really hard to describe. But what you need to do is to create a point. So just concentrate on 2 pieces of the straw, pinch them together at a point, and then take them across underneath the top bar, and then see what you end up with. And you may well need to slide one set of points back underneath the straight line in order that it holds. So this star isn't really firm. It's a star shape, but it isn't rigid. So shall we have another go? There is your pentagon shape. You grab hold of the end pieces. It doesn't matter which two pieces you choose to create a point. Slide them under the bar on the opposite side, and hey presto, you've got a star. You really need to have a practice. These are paper straws. They're quite robust, and if it all goes wrong, just start off with 5 more paper straws and have a go. So it just does seem to come together by magic. So you might want to just rewind this bit, play it back really slowly, and just approach it with utmost confidence. Top tip, don't go too short, don't go too long. About 12 centimetres, and you should be manageable. And once you're happy with your star, if you need to, you can retighten the wire at the point of your star and then finish off with another twist at the top, and you've created a little hanger. Shall we have a look at the making part one more time? Let me take this one apart. You can see that it's a pentagon, a 5-pointed shape. Grab 2 of the pieces to create a stalk. Thread them underneath the top bar of the triangle that then gets created. And then sort of twist over to one side. It's a little bit unstable here, so I'm going to take the top or the point off to the right and slide it underneath. I think probably that's the best bit of the video. So it would be that bit that I'd rewatch again. Good luck. Let me know how you get on. And now for the last star. Are you ready to make a Christmas star? This is the underside of my star. I'm going to flip it over. We have a lovely 3D shape. I thought I would make my star more colourful using the pages from this brochure. So I now have my 5 sheets of square paper. So when you've got your square paper cut, if you've got paper that's obviously got a front side and a back side, I would make sure that the front side is on your tabletop, so hidden from view, and then you need to fold your paper in half diagonally across. So I can do this quite easily because I've already got a line there from when I cut my squares. So folding it in half, a nice crease, and if you want to have a really precise crease, you can take a teaspoon and run it up the edges. Open your paper. You're then going to take this square point towards the middle line here, so folding all the way along the line. So fold it up, and this line here lines through with that centre fold line. I'm just making sure before I commit I'm quite neat at this end where I've got my point. So a light fold first, and if I'm happy with that's accurate at the end, I can go in heavier, and then do the same thing on the other side. Take this corner and that line to that centre edge. Smooth it down. You've then got something that's kite shaped. What I'm going to do is lift this point up here, fold that onto the middle line, and create a flat edge, and you'll end up with a triangle. But again, just thinking about lining up the crease there with the centre crease, lining up your corners at the bottom, and then you end up with your triangle. So you've gone from a square to a kite shape to a triangle. We're then going to go back to a kite shape. So taking this line at the bottom here and this corner, folding it up again to that centre line here. and your back to a kite shape. So you just need to do that 5 more times. And you need your glue stick. So I'm going to open up the flaps, and you're left with this square shape inside. That's where I'm going to put my glue, inside that square. And fold my papers back. You want to hold it for a few moments or just put it under something heavy. I've got my scissors here. So you've got a kite shape here, and now you want to fold it back along that centre line. So very gently fold it there, and it opens out to a little boat shape, and it's gone back to being a right angled triangle. From a kite, think about the fold at the back, flipping out this top piece, and it becomes a right angled triangle. So you can see here that I'm left with a little triangle here, and that's our next gluing point. Glue the triangle, add the next piece on top. So you're wanting to match the points, match that long length as best you can. And then you'll see a fold here and another triangle. That's where you glue. Match the corners. And then you just need to wait for that to dry. And this is when a clothes peg comes in handy. And when you feel your glue is dry, you can start to open out your star. And to make a complete star, you'll need to glue here and bring that piece round to there. But I'm not going to do that. And put this one together. And paperclip it right close to the edge so it holds the shape well. I can't wait to see how you get on with these 4 projects. I would love to see your makes, so don't forget to check out my free Facebook group, Flower Start World, and show me what you've been up to. Well, that's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next time.